Let me ask you something, and answer this honestly. Are you heartbroken over her, or over the version of her you built in your mind? That flawless version, the one who never betrayed your trust, matched your loyalty, and chose you fully. That version never existed. Deep down, you know that you just didn't want to admit it. What you're grieving isn't her. It's the fantasy you created around her. Every good morning text, every memory, every look. It wasn't love. It was a story you wrote. And now that the story has ended, you're lost. Not because she's gone, but because the illusion has shattered. This is where many men crumble, not because we're weak, but because we confuse emotional chaos with connection. We think our suffering proves our loyalty. It doesn't. All it proves is that we handed over our power to someone who didn't ask for it, didn't want it, or didn't deserve it. Let me tell you something cold but freeing. She never changed. She just stopped pretending. The version of her you fell for was a mask, and when the mask came off, you saw the real face. It didn't match the fantasy. That's not betrayal, that's revelation. What you do next defines you. You can chase her, beg, drown in the what-ifs, or you can detach. Cut the cord emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Detachment isn't apathy, it's discipline. Stoicism is the art of control. Not controlling her, but controlling yourself. You think silence is weak. It's the most powerful move you can make. Not texting her back, not watching her stories, not checking her page, not responding to her bait. That's not coldness, that's command. In a world filled with desperate noise, your silence becomes a roar. This heartbreak isn't the end, it's an opportunity. You don't rebuild to win her back. You rebuild so the next version of you doesn't break in the same way. You don't become colder, you become clearer. You don't become bitter, you become better. You stop chasing shadows and start becoming a storm. Because the truth is, you didn't lose her, you lost the illusion. And that's a blessing disguised as pain. If you're done mourning a mirage, if you're ready to face the truth, acknowledge that you see through the illusion. Now let's begin. Number 1, the illusion you love. You didn't fall for her, you fell for what she represented. She was a placeholder for your fantasies, security, passion, validation, maybe even redemption. You projected your dreams onto her face, and when she smiled, you thought it meant she saw you, but she didn't. She was never who you thought she was. That wasn't love, that was projection. She said the right things, mirrored your energy, and made you feel like you finally mattered. That's what hurt when she left. Not her absence, but the collapse of everything you hoped was real. Your mind clung to the version of her who understood you, supported you, and stood by you. But that version only lived in your imagination. When reality hit, when her words didn't match her actions, when her warmth turned cold, it wasn't that she changed, it was that the illusion wore off. You refused to see it, because letting go of the illusion felt like admitting you were wrong, that you misjudged, that you trusted too quickly, that you loved too deeply without evidence she was worthy of it. But this is where your power begins. In the acceptance that your pain came not from losing her, but from losing the mask you glued onto her. The woman you loved was never real. The pain is real, the love was real, but she wasn't who you thought she was, and that's okay. This realization doesn't make you weak, it makes you awake. From this point forward, you stop romanticizing lies and start respecting your perception. Detachment begins the moment you stop clinging to what never existed in the first place. Number 2, pain is a messenger, not a master. Pain isn't the enemy, it's the spotlight. It shows you where your expectations broke, where your boundaries were ignored, and where your self-worth was compromised. But most men mistake pain for punishment. They sit in it, drown in it, worship it. Pain isn't here to break you, it's here to wake you. She left and it burned. Good. That's the signal. The raw, unfiltered truth your mind tried to ignore. Every ache in your chest, every restless night, every time you replay her last words, that's your body trying to tell you something. You gave too much, you held on too tightly, you lost yourself trying to keep her. That's not love. That's dependency dressed as devotion. The Stoics taught that pain is information. Epictetus said, "We suffer not from events, but from our judgment about them." You're not destroyed because she's gone. You're destroyed because you believed she should have stayed, because you believed she completed you. No one completes you. You complete yourself. Use the pain. Don't bury it. Don't numb it. Study it. Analyze it. What did it teach you about your boundaries, your patterns, your triggers? What did it expose about your emotional gaps? Because once you face it, once you truly understand it, the pain loses control over you. It becomes a guide, not a master. Embrace the sting. Let it fuel your evolution. Not for revenge, not to prove something to her, but to rise above the weakness that got you here. Pain is the price of growth. You either pay it willingly or let it break you slowly. Your choice. Number 3, she didn't betray you. She revealed herself. What you called betrayal was really exposure. She didn't suddenly flip a switch and become someone else. She just stopped hiding who she really was. The problem is, you were so attached to the fantasy that when the truth came out, it felt like deception. But it wasn't. It was revelation. Maybe she said she loved you. Maybe she said she'd never leave. Maybe she said you were different. But words are cheap and consistency is the only truth worth trusting. When her actions started drifting, when her energy changed, when she stopped choosing you daily, that wasn't a plot twist. That was the mask slipping. You saw it. You just didn't want to admit it. You explained away the red flags, made excuses for the distance, convinced yourself that if you just held on a little tighter, things would go back to how they were. But that's the trap. Hoping a performance will return after the actor walks off stage. Here's what most men never learn. Betrayal is a gift when you're ready to see clearly. You want loyalty? Then learn to read reality, not promises. You want peace? Then stop rewriting someone's story to fit your dream. She didn't change. She emerged. And now that you've seen her, believe her. Her exit wasn't a loss. It was clarity. Now you know who she is and what she's capable of. Finally, you can stop chasing the lie and start building from truth. Number 4, control is an inside job. The moment she walked away, you felt powerless, like your fate was in her hands. Everything depended on her presence, validation, and attention. That illusion of control shattered, and you were left scrambling, wondering how to get it back. But here's the truth. You never had control over her. You only thought you did. Control doesn't come from managing people. It comes from mastering your own mind, your feelings, your reactions, and your focus. You can't stop someone from leaving. You can't force them to love you. But you can decide how much space they take up in your head. That's where real power lives, in your ability to direct your energy. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the obstacle becomes the path. Losing her feels like the obstacle, but it's really the invitation to stop outsourcing your worth and start guarding your mind. Once you stop needing them to be anything, you stop bleeding every time they choose someone else. She can walk, forget, and move on. That's her right. But what she doesn't control, what nobody controls, is how you respond. You can suffer or you can sharpen. You can chase or you can rebuild. One leads to obsession, the other leads to peace. You don't get peace by controlling outcomes. You get it by owning your responses. When your emotions obey you, not her, not the past, not the fantasy, you become unshakable. That's Stoic detachment. That's real control. It starts the moment you stop handing her the keys to your sanity. Number 5, the power of emotional indifference. You think being emotional proves how much you cared, that if she saw how broken you were, maybe she'd come back. But let me tell you something that flips the script. Desperation doesn't attract, it repels. The more emotionally available you are to someone who disrespected your loyalty, the more power you give them. Emotional indifference isn't about being cold, it's about being in control. It means she no longer has the ability to shake your foundation. It means you don't react to her games. You don't flinch when her name comes up. You don't rage when she moves on. You don't fold when she reappears. That's not bitterness, that's strength. She expected you to crumble, to still live rent-free in your head, and to keep your emotional leash wrapped around her fingers. So when you go silent, when you stop explaining, when you stop reacting and seeking closure, that silence hits louder than any text ever could. That's when she starts to wonder, not because you said something, but because you didn't. Indifference is your shield. It tells the world, I own myself now. So you stop a real. That kind of energy is rare, dangerous and attractive. Not because it's a game, but because it shows emotional discipline. In a world full of noise, the one who controls his emotions controls the room. So stop posting for attention. Stop waiting for her to notice. Stop breaking every time she breathes in your direction. Become emotionally unbothered. Because when nothing outside you can shake what's inside you, you become untouchable. Number 6. Your silence is louder than words. She expected noise, arguments, closure talks, emotional confessions, a storm of feelings that would keep her relevant in your life. But when you went silent, that's when the shift happened. Not just in her, but in you. Silence isn't weakness, it's a weapon, a boundary, a statement that needs no explanation. When you keep talking, you give her space to perform, to justify, to manipulate the narrative. But when you go quiet, all she hears is the echo of her own actions. Silence forces her to face herself. There's no attention to feed her ego, no reaction to fuel her drama. In that space, she starts wondering, why aren't you chasing? Why aren't you breaking? That's the power of withdrawal. It signals that you've reclaimed your frame, that you no longer need her validation. Her presence, absence, and opinions don't define you. She loses her grip the moment your energy disappears. That's when the regret creeps in, not because you begged, but because you vanished. Silence also heals you. It removes you from her chaos. It gives your mind room to detox. It turns off the emotional noise, allowing you to hear yourself again. You don't need closure, you need distance. You don't need a response, you need your peace. So don't announce your exit. Don't send a final message, just disengage. Go ghost, go internal. Let your actions do the talking. Because in the game of detachment, silence is the final word, and it always echoes the loudest. Number 7. Self-respect is the most attractive trait. She wasn't looking for perfection, she was looking for certainty. The moment you started bending, chasing, pleading, you lost it. Not because you weren't good enough, but because you stopped respecting yourself to keep her around. No one values what doesn't value itself. Self-respect means you don't tolerate mixed signals. You don't justify bad behavior. To the mufti. War isn't lay. And next time, if there is a next time, you'll never hand over your power for the illusion of love again. Number 10. The illusion dies, you don't. The version of you that needed her is gone, and that's a good thing. That version was dependent, emotional, and confused. He lived for her approval. bent for her attention, and broke at her silence. He died the moment she walked away, and that death was necessary because now something new is rising. This isn't about being heartless, it's about being whole. You thought she completed you. Nope, she just exposed the parts of you that were incomplete. Now that she's gone, those gaps aren't your weakness anymore. They're your blueprint. You don't fill them with another woman. You fill them with discipline, clarity, and purpose. You were chasing someone who never saw your full value because you hadn't seen it yourself. But now you've looked in the mirror without her. You've stood in the silence, faced the loneliness, and didn't fold. That's rebirth. That's Stoic detachment in its purest form. Nothing owns you anymore. Not her, not the past, not the illusion, nor the old you. He begged for closure. He replayed memories. He waited for texts that never came. But you, the man standing here now, understand it wasn't love that died. It was a fantasy. With it, the weakest version of yourself burned away. This is the final lesson. She never had the power. You gave it to her. Now you take it back. Not with rage or revenge, but with silence, stillness, and a mind that no longer breaks for things it cannot control. The illusion dies. You don't. You evolve. You didn't lose her, you lost the illusion. That's the best thing that could have happened to you, because now you see clearly. You see who she was, who you were, and who you're becoming. This wasn't the end of your story. It was the start of your rise. The detachment, the silence, the rebirth. That's where your power lives now. Every section of this journey was a piece of armor, a weapon, a wake-up call. You don't beg for closure anymore. You don't chase shadows. You don't look back. You walk forward with purpose. And every step is quieter, stronger, colder, and more respected. You've stopped mourning a fantasy. You've stopped waiting for someone to come back who never really showed up in the first place. You've stopped explaining your worth because you finally remembered you are the blessing. If you're done chasing ghosts, if you're ready to reclaim your power, embrace this path. Your detachment is your rebirth.